Ryan, I told you last week that I had a pair of your all-whites shorts gifted to me by Seamus Martin. So I think about you and the World Cup pretty much every week whenever I don those shorts to go for a walk. How often do you think about 2010 and what the all-whites achieved?
Well, I definitely think about that more than you wearing those shorts on that walk, I'll tell you that, Bree. But no, I think whenever a World Cup turns up, whether it's men's or women's, you do obviously recap some of the memories because they are pretty much lifetime memories, right?
You often think about what more could you and your team have done to progress from pool play. I mean, we often talk about that Paraguay performance and pressing for a result, 3 points to progress to the next phase. Do you think about that?
I'm probably not a guy that looks back in hindsight and kind of if only or wish we did this or what, we were the only unbeaten team. That was a pretty amazing accomplishment right there. Could we have, in that last 10 minutes, probably, thrown caution to get to the wind a bit? Yeah, probably. But again, those decisions kind of had to be made at the time. And, if we had got caught in the break and lost 1-0, we might have been going down in history a wee bit differently, right?
Hey, Sweden, though, if they're at full strength for this all-whites game, we're looking at Zlatan Ibrahimovic, we're looking at Alexander Isak. As a former central defender of some note, what kind of advice would you be offering to Michael Boxall and co as to how to best deal with them?
The Swedish team, the whole squad, for a relatively small country is, in soccer terms, is loaded. It's a very difficult measuring stick when you play against those guys because it is trying to stay in the game for as long as possible and hopefully you can get something. Just trying to kind of, I suppose, nullify any chances they have because the higher you get against the better quality opposition, they generally just only need a couple of chances and they can hurt you. And that's the difference between the best in the world and probably like you and the Sunday Pub League, you probably need a few more chances than a couple to put it in the back of the net. So that's ultimately what kind of at the highest level, it's just brutal.
So when you were playing in your heyday, who were the strikers that really gave you the SHITSs then?
And they all came in different kind of strengths and very few weaknesses. But you go against an Alan Shearer, who's completely different to a Thierry Henry, to a Didier Drogba, to a Wayne Rooney, to a Van Nistelrooy, to a Bergkamp. They're all world class, but they're all very different players, right? Kind of have to adjust your game to cope with whatever strengths and very, very limited few weaknesses that they have. So it's very difficult. And as a centre back, like the amount of times, the amount of games I felt like I was having a world class game. I was cruising, I had them in the back pocket, and then all of a sudden, bang, and they score, and you lose 1-0, and you just, nobody cares, so it's that one mistake.
And then it's the highlight that's replayed all throughout the week until the next game, like Ryan Nelsen getting skinned by Thierry Henry.
Yeah, and not the 99 times I intercepted the ball in front of him and all that.
Exactly.
It's the one time and that's why we didn't get paid the big bucks and the strikers do, I suppose. So.
You mentioned the terminology in your back pocket. Was there ever a striker that you came up against who you were very, very comfortable with in marking him out of the game?
There was definitely a profile of strikers that I enjoyed playing, and it's actually kind of funny because it's the weaker of my game. But the more athletic strikers I found were a lot easier because you knew they were going to try and body you or they're going to try and run in behind, and that's their game really. They're not going to pull something out of their back pocket and do something crazy or link up or anything like that. They just kind of really want to run and get in behind. So you can really read that. And you can, if you can read the game, you can kind of, be a few steps ahead of them and kind of intercept it or track it down. Or if they body, if they're really strong, they want to fight. And, I always say you don't kind of fight a fighter, right? You kind of, he wants to grab you and pin you, and so you dance around him, and they feel uncomfortable when they're not posting up or they're not holding you or something like that. So you invite them to go get the ball. You stand off them 5-10 yards so they think that they can come to their feet, and big, strong, athletic strikers, when they get a bit of space and they think they can actually play, you sometimes just give it to them and let them get a bit of confidence of that. But really, it's not their strength. So it's all these little mind games you have to play. There's so many games in the game. There's so many mental battles that you play all the time with these guys. It's excruciatingly mentally draining, having to concentrate all this time. Because as I said, if you get it wrong, you're just in big trouble.
Just before we let you go, Ryan, and thanks so much for your time on the final Kiwi football fix of our season. Closer to home, this Auckland entity that may or may not be breathed into life come October next year. What have you heard about it? Are you interested in getting involved? Because basically we're out there with cap in hand trying to fundraise. Is it something that is of interest to you? Would you be keen to get involved?
Look, I think it's not just me. I think there's a lot of ex-All Whites, ex-New Zealand players, ex-New Zealand supporters that would just absolutely love to see a Auckland-based APL team. That's absolute no-brainer, and I think the Australian League needs an Auckland team. In all honesty, that it's city of close to 2 million that doesn't have a professional soccer team, in a pretty modern, in a very modern kind of country and city. It's just ridiculous, right? So, and Australia, the APL, for it to grow themselves as a league, needs a team like Auckland, and you'll get the Auckland-Wellington rivalry, which will be fantastic, and then you'll get the the Aussie-New Zealand rivalry. It ticks every single box, and as I said, it's not just me. I think there's so many former New Zealand players and supporters and that would love to lend a hand or support any sort of Auckland-based franchise. It would be just amazing.
Well, if it helps, I'll auction off your shorts to help with the fundraising. Ryan Nelsen, thank you so much for coming back to the Kiwi Football Fix for our last show of the season. Really appreciate your time, mate, and putting up with me. You're an absolute legend.
It's thank you so much. It's a shame. It's the last of the season. What are you going to do now?
Pretty much just put my feet up for about 3 months and wait to see what happens, I guess.
No, well, you can watch some women's soccer and whilst you do that.
We call it football down here, mate. You've been in America too long.
Far too long. I need to get back. I need to get back home.
Yeah, come on down for a visit, mate. We'll get you on the couch, eh? Thanks, Ryan. Cheers for your time, man.
Awesome. See you guys.